Speedway Report is a production of ZTV. We've got the Viva Las Vegas edition today of Speedway Report. We've got a bit of short track racing to fill you in on, and Ty Dillon's podcast on YouTube really struck a chord in my heart today. I'm going to give that a little bit of a plug. Welcome to Speedway Report for Monday, March the 8th, 2021. From the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. Reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you miss our podcast, well, it'll be dropped right into your inbox each and every week, as long as we can go on the air, which was dangerously close to not happening tonight. You might notice the camera being a little different, the sound being a little different while I'm on backup equipment tonight. Things for the last 30 minutes really just weren't working. Not sure why they were not, but we rigged something together so we could at least have a show and chat a little bit. I don't know if this will be better or worse. I'm going to scroll over here. Hey, Thomas, how are you? Thanks for joining tonight. Might play with this a little bit. I don't know. This is not the usual technical studio setup. Thomas is here every single week. Glad to see him with us. And hello to all of you that are joining as well. Let's start with the Speedway Report Victory Lane Lap. Tell you who won what. We'll begin out west in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. Yesterday, NASCAR Cup Boys went 400 miles. Who was your winner? Young Money. Back in Victory Lane, Kyle Larson. Took only 4 starts for him to win for Hendrick Motorsports. He is the quickest driver to win for Hendrick Motorsports by getting in their Cup cards. 4 starts. No one's done it quicker in their entire career for Hendrick. Xfinity race on Saturday at Las Vegas. Good guy A.J. Allmendinger was your winner. And Friday night's truck race in Vegas, John Hunter Nemechek found his way to victory lane. Well, the Outlaw late models were in my neck of the woods, not too far away. Maryville, Tennessee. Chris Madden was the winner for the A-Main there. A little chilly, a little cold, but we're in the south. We'll tough it out, and we'll have some racing. World of Outlaw Sprints, well, they went further south and made a second return trip to Florida. Not just February for Speed Weeks, but with COVID, they had some events canceled. Folks in Florida said, hey, World of Outlaw Sprint Car guys, why don't you come on back on Volusia Speedway on Friday night. Carson Macedo was the winner of the feature, and Saturday at East Bay, Aaron Rutzel was the A-Main winner. The last time the World of Outlaws raced at East Bay Raceway, 38 years ago. Pretty big gap between A-Main winners. Closer to home here in Dillon, South Carolina, the Cars Tour raced over the weekend. Late model stock cars on the pavement won 125 laps. Justin Johnson cashed the first place check, and a little further south in Montgomery, Alabama, super late models ran the Alabama 200. Chris Tullis was your winner down at Montgomery. Now, Victory Lane Lap closed. Let's talk about the racing itself. Kyle Larson. Yeah, this is pretty much a comeback story. When there were stories going on at the beginning of the year, reporters were asked, hey, what would be a cool story to write about? What would be a cool story to report? Especially, let's narrow it down a little further as we went into the Daytona 500. One of the biggest stories that could have, should have, maybe possibly could be is if Ryan Newman won the 500. That would be a pretty big story. If Bubba Wallace won the 500, that would be a pretty big story. And the third one, well, if Kyle Larson could win, that would be a pretty big story. He didn't win the Daytona 500. Before races into the Cup season in Las Vegas, Kyle Larson put himself back in victory lane in the Cup Series. What a comeback for this guy. We've talked about him on this show. He's been on the air over social media all winter long. His journey has been chronicled pretty well. Made a error in judgment, used a word over the airwaves last spring, got him suspended and eventually fired from all his NASCAR duties. Went back to the short track world, sprint car racing, short tracks, kept himself sharp, hoped for a return to NASCAR. followed their educational diversity program, paid his dues. He learned quite a bit in the social world. He didn't need anything to learn behind the wheel of a race car, but he had evidently quite a bit to learn about society and people in general. He lived, let's call it what it is, pretty much a sheltered life, largely just racing. Came from California at a young age, found his way to the East Coast in NASCAR. Good dude, but sheltered. Racing was pretty much all he knew. And outside of those short track or big track circles in the world of NASCAR or, in the dirt world, he wasn't worldly. He didn't know what was going on. He made a mistake. Paid his dues, got on the road to recovery, if you want to call it, and was much more open-minded a year later, much more knowledgeable of the world. I think, to his own words, just a better person, more grounded, more acknowledged and educated on how the world is, just outside of the stock car and sprint car racing circles. I never thought that the mistake he made last year should sacrifice his career, the ender of it. I don't think anybody did. There were consequences. He faced them. He owned up to it, and there was a road that he had to follow to return to the upper levels of NASCAR. Boom, boom, boom. He did all of that. Wound up back in a very, very good ride, and lo and behold, he's the first guy out of Hendrick to find victory lane. In the 5-car, nonetheless. 5-car, back in the all-star racing days, this was Rick Hendrick's first car number. Before there was a Hendrick Motorsports in 1985. In 1984, there was all-star racing. And the pilot of that ride, Jeff Bodine, gave Rick Hendrick his first Cup victory in the spring at Martinsville. Yes, I'm old enough to remember all of that, because I also remember on that day in 1984 in April, Ronnie Bouchard finished second in the Race Hill Farm car. It was a great day for modified racing at Martinsville in the Cup Series. Well, that was the Winston Cup Grand National Series, as we called it back then. Great memories, a great time in racing. Bodine gave him his first win. And yesterday, that paint scheme resembled the one that Ricky Hendrick drove in the trucks in the Xfinity Series. This was covered on Fox's broadcast yesterday, but these were things that rolling through my head before they spoke about it. I recognize the paint scheme, just good to Ricky. The 5, just sentimentally favorite to, just means so much to Hendrick Motorsports. And Kyle Larson, just a good feel-good story for his ups and downs and twists and turns in his career. I'm glad the mistake he made last year was not career-ending. I didn't believe it deserved to be career-ending. I believe there should have been consequences and have the punishment fit the crime. He did that. Everything came out well, I think, and now we've got a pretty good advocate for social justice and equality among the NASCAR ranks. Good dude in Kyle Larson. And naturally, with all the good stories, there comes a bad side to it. Where does the bad side usually come from? Well, the keyboard warriors, the guys with the internet muscles. There's always those that creep out from under the rocks and under the shells on social media that really, all they really do is put a spotlight on their ignorance and don't really know what they're talking about and say a lot of stupid things. Not everybody, but certainly some of them. They talked about Kyle Larson's win yesterday, and then I don't know how the trail of conversation goes down a dark path, but sometimes it does, and they threw up the cheers of that he won, Kyle Larson won. Bubba Wallace's name is just mentioned in every single comparison, every single week, just for everything. It goes back, people find their way back to Bubba Wallace. And needless to say, there's a bit of an education here that people need to be had, is how NASCAR is not trying to make Bubba Wallace win or lose. NASCAR is not trying to force diversity in certain situations on this. But Kyle Larson is actually a graduate from NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program. The man is half Japanese, of Japanese heritage, out on the west coast of California. He was a NASCAR East Series driver before that became ARCA Series East, old Busch North days. We've talked a lot about that on this show as well. And Kyle was actually a guest on this program several years ago when he was in the East Series. When Chase Elliott, when Corey LaJoie, when this Joey Logano, a good group of guys, was in the East Series, I think it was the K&N East Series at the time. They were all guests on the show. We had a chance to talk to them. It was good to visit with them. Some of them come from the diversity program, of which Kyle Larson is a graduate of. So those people, I don't know, that doesn't take them long to start beating down Bubba Wallace. And I'll criticize Bubba Wallace, but I'll be fair about it. I'll criticize anything involved in NASCAR, but I will be fair about it. But I won't bash just to bash. Mike Massaro told me that long ago when I was just getting into the journalism end of the sport. He goes, don't bash NASCAR just to bash. If you want to criticize them, I ask one thing, just be fair. And two, when you can, if there's an issue, offer a solution. Well, Bubba Wallace is on the block to be criticized just equally as everybody else in that field on Sunday. Fair game. Compliment or criticize. The internet warriors, the keyboard strong guys, come out to compare it. I don't care what the situation was. It gets down to Bubba somehow. And I'll believe in criticizing Wallace fairly of the situation that he deserves to be in. But when the guy just goes to victory lane to shake Kyle Larson's hand, to congratulate him on a good run, I think that's good sportsmanship on this one, especially since Kyle Larson, yes, is out of the diversity program of NASCAR. A little bit of information for everybody out there, just, for Wallace and Larson. They're longtime friends, and it was good to see good sportsmanship. Yep, the keyboard warriors will find any way to criticize and make negative of anything. Now, something that what do we want to talk? Something we can look at here that we don't have the evidence that would really stand up in a court of law, but certainly if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's a duck type of thing, is Kyle Busch's spin in the Truck Series on Friday night. Clearly intentional to bring out a caution because he needed one. And it's even more damning that he didn't say anything about it. But when Bob Pockrass asked him on the Zoom press conference after the Friday night truck race about the spin, Kyle's one-word answer was nope. That was it. And he said it 3 times because Pockrass tried to follow up with him. Can you tell me about your spin and describe that and what happened? Kyle said, nope. And that was the end of his description. Somebody pulled up a YouTube video from Dale Earnhardt Jr. in Bristol, 1984. Jr. spun, brought out a caution flag, and then keyed the radio and said, yeah, I never spun out on purpose before. That was kind of cool. You needed a yellow. He spun. They needed it. It happens sometimes. But you keep it quiet on the radio. We all remember that Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., Michael Waltrip racing fiasco at Richmond a few years ago that put Jeff Gordon as car number 13 in the NASCAR playoffs. Any event, Kyle just said nope as a one-word response when asked about the spin. There is nothing there will hold up in a court of law but Kyle Busch. I guess it's the Kyle show tonight. Kyle Busch definitely spun that thing on purpose because he needed a caution. Some guys have spun other guys out because they needed a caution, but that's fact. There's no recording of it that I can pull up or show you guys, but absolutely definitely happens. It has happened for years. In old story from Richard Childress, Key and the Mike talking to Dale Earnhardt years ago. Hey, we're almost a lap down. We're going to have to catch a caution here. And Senior's famous remark was, yeah, I'm working on it. Plug it in what you want there. This happens, but when Kyle, in today's day and age of everything's going over the airwaves and everybody's talking to the media and there's no escaping it, Kyle Busch just didn't say anything about it, but him not saying something about it definitely waved the checkered flag. Done deal. Yes, he spun out on purpose to bring out a caution. What's the proof? What's the repercussions? Well, stay tuned to NASCAR's penalties this week, if any, for Kyle Busch on the truck race. The Dinger, AJ Allmendinger, won Saturday's Xfinity race at Vegas. And as much criticism as Kyle Busch gets for just getting out of bed in the morning, or Bubba Wallace for that matter, AJ Allmendinger is one of those guys that just seems to be one of those guys that it's very hard to find someone that dislikes him. He's a very popular guy. I worked with him years ago at Team Red Bull in NASCAR. Great sense of humor, very, very likable guy. This was his first year when he came over from Champ Car racing to stock cars, and I think he wrecked 6 out of the first 7 times he was on the racetrack. He was a guy with a heavy right foot. He wanted to win right away. I understood what he was doing, but is so glad to see his career come so far once he left open wheel racing and open cockpit racing. I even saw him race in the Indianapolis 500 one year. I think it was after he was removed from Penske's Cup ride with the positive drug test, and then the following year trying to find his way back into the sport. He did run the Indy 500 and looked pretty good in those type of cars too. Had some other starts for Penske and then wound up returning his way to NASCAR. A little bit maybe like Kyle Larson, where he had to redeem himself, got up to the top, got knocked back down, and now the climb up makes him appreciate it that much more. Don't take for granted where you are and what you're doing. Dinger in Victory Lane on Saturday. Really, really good deal. Something I want to share with you guys. If I don't always talk about podcasts other than my own here for Speedway Report, but something I want you to look up, and I'll see if I can find it. I listened to it on YouTube today. I'm going to try to find it, maybe share it in the comments with this show. Hello, Bill Pratt. Thanks for saying hi. Is a podcast that Ty Dillon put out. I guess there's a lot of people that are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And that can be taken as a negative way or a positive way, or just strictly a factual adjective on their racing career. I consider people that were born into the sport and had opportunities in front of them, those are silver spoon people. Now, what they do with those opportunities, too many of them waste it and don't take advantage of it, and that's why the silver spoon definitely gets a negative connotation to it. For instance, is Chase Elliott, a silver spoon kid, born of Hall of Famer Bill Elliott, been racing pretty much his entire life with an opportunity with Hendrick Motorsports. None of these opportunities were given to him, because if he wasn't worth a darn, he wouldn't have been offered them. Yet here he is, the defending Cup Series champion. Ty Dillon, been produced on short tracks and dirt trucks, Xfinity, moved his way up to the Cup Series, yet didn't produce at that level, and now he is in the Xfinity Series on a limited schedule with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's still a real guy. These guys that have been born into the sport have good rides, have money behind them, have sponsorship, have opportunities. They're still human beings like the rest of us. And Ty Dillon opens up from his heart, makes himself vulnerable, drops the shields, and I think that makes him more of a man than a lot of folks. The guys typically, I'll admit that we got the macho attitude. Don't talk about your feelings. Hold things in. Don't cry, etc., etc. The man's man type of image that we all want to put out to the world. It takes a guy that makes himself vulnerable, open up and share himself with the public, and let them see where his stresses are, where his anxieties are, where his tears are, where his heartbreak is, and what he thinks about his family. I listened to Ty's podcast today, and Ty Dillon's podcast. It's probably just if you search those words, Ty Dillon Podcast, go to YouTube, because you're subscribing to Speedway Report anyway, right? Right. Look up his podcast, episode 4, which dropped today, and it was called I Quit. Now, literally, he's not quitting. But the emotions of where he's trying to take his career, where he's fighting, what his family means for him, the pressure that he's under, where he comes from in the Childress family. Anybody that's born into it, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Chase Elliott, the Pettys, the Earnhardts, the Jareds, these folks come with second and third generation racers. A lot's expected of them. And just as human beings, it's good to see these guys, not as names, not as guys in fire suits with sunglasses, a lot of money, and their sponsor logos, but with real people. And just open up and be vulnerable. Ty Dillon's podcast is about 15 minutes long and definitely worth your listen. There's no video to it. It's just audio. He even talks about that a little bit, how he records it, he edits it, he posts it, he does it all by himself. So it is what it is, but the guy just talks from the heart. If you want to hear what it's like, if you think guys like Ty Dillon are on easy street and have life handed to them and everything's perfect and they're just coasting in a royalty, you're incorrect. And to listen to the man talk is eye-opening and fascinating. I highly recommend it. Go check out Ty Dillon's podcast. I saw it on YouTube, episode 4, called I Quit. It's worth your listen. It's 15 minutes that you'll actually thank me. If I can find it and drop it in the comments, I will today. We're going to get out of here tonight. Hickory, North Carolina opened its gates this past weekend. Fans were allowed. I didn't even know about it. Missed out on that. The cars race at Dillon, South Carolina, I told you about. I missed out on that too. I'm not sure where the PR departments were on this or if I was just that much unplugged for what was going on. Hickory, North Carolina, 5 divisions and only 44 cars total amongst the 5 divisions. Unfortunately, that's a side of racing that I hate to see. Only 6 late model stock cars. However, the race at Dillon with late model stock cars, they had over 20, about 25, I think. Love to see a stronger field at Hickory with all of the history, especially in NASCAR, that has been on with Hickory, North Carolina. Let's tip our hat to this week's Racer of the Week. We talked a lot about them. I'm going to give A.J. Allmendinger an honorable mention. Thought about that, but Ollie came back from this past year and to find his way to victory lane so fast. Kyle Larson, no surprise to any of you probably, is our Speedway Report Racer of the Week. In between our broadcasts, keep up on auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This show and all of our past ones are archived onto the site. On social media, catch us on Facebook at Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds and at Racers Reunion. On Twitter, I'm at Speedway Report and at Speedway Pat. At racersreunion.com in the forum, and like I said, on our YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone on the Facebook chat tonight. Thomas Warren, always there. Bill Pratt says hello. And, of course, my mom. She never misses a show. Leo will be listening to the podcast from South America. Hello to Leo when you finally catch up to this one in Brazil. And I want to thank always all of the military, past and present, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, you take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They're quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You've been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. Now, if you are on Facebook, March the 8th, 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time, you got about 5 minutes. Head on over to the Drag List Live page. Bill Pratt and John Bachman will take over at the top of the hour. Now, I'll be back here in 1 week. March the 15th, we'll have the Gator Nationals NHRA season opener, Caraway Speedway's 56th annual season opener, and a NASCAR National Series will be in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you all for watching. You take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll see y'all next week.